because I will. Bing, bing, bing. So,
Oh, same. I'm like, I can handle 5 conversations in my head and multitask at the same time.
um, okay. Danielle, welcome. I'm so happy to have you on because you have a whole lot to share, a whole lot of perspective, a relatively new mom. Tell us a little about your previous life, athletic career, your new life, being mom. Share.
Yeah. I grew up athletic, always playing some type of sport. My poor mom was a taxi driver when I was younger. She drove me to, I remember one time I had 3 types of sports on one day. So I went from practice at school to like, I think I had softball practice and then I had nighttime soccer practice. So she drove me everywhere. So thanks, mom. But yeah, I played sports all throughout my life. I went to high school and played softball all 4 years, and I cheered, which was like half cheer, half dance. So you don't see that often, having a varsity softball player who, in frame, I was like 100 pounds, so I was pretty small. But I thought I was big. Like I was like, I can hit a ball far. And I was also a cheerleader, so you don't see that often. That's quite a range of like softball. You see like most of the time it's like burly girls
Yeah.
or like your tomboys, and then you have your cheerleaders that are like like and I was right in the middle. So I think I gave that good balance for the 4 years that I was there. But I played softball, went on to the college life, and actually hated college a lot. I didn't want to go far, so I stayed very local. Went to CSUN, I think a year and a half, and dropped out. I didn't like it. It was just, I don't know. I just felt like working was what I wanted to do. I wanted to make money. And so I just got a job and I just started working really hard, and no sports. I did gain weight actually for being not playing any sports for that year. I gained the freshman 15, which was not good on my body frame. Like I'm a small torsoed, short-legged girl. So when I started gaining weight, like you could tell. And then that was when I started just looking at, different types of fitness and exercise. And I stumbled upon a CrossFit job offer on Craigslist. And I was like, sure, never even heard of it. This was like when I was 19 or 20 maybe. And so they hired me, and life forever changed. So I'm super thankful to have worked at CrossFit Horsepower, which is in Studio City. I found some of my closest friends to this day there. I learned so much, CrossFit wise, obviously, but just, I don't know, a different me that I didn't realize was inside of me. And it was the competition side that I missed. And so I was just like, once I started it, I was like, oh, this is good. And then I just wanted to compete, and I just started competing. I hired a coach, and yeah, it was really fun. Regionals, training, all of that stuff really kicked my ass. And I just remember thinking, like, I'm so thankful that there is something more for girls, because our sports really end at college.
Yeah.
Like, there's no, well, there is for basketball, but you don't want to see me play basketball. But there wasn't really anything like after college. So I just felt like this was it. This is cool. And I really loved that I stumbled upon CrossFit.
And it really, I think that it's such a good community. Like, obviously, that's how I was connected with you. And I think that something about CrossFit more, because I've also played, like, I played volleyball in college, like, I've played all the sports. But having done CrossFit, there's something about that community that's very, very similar.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's because you're an adult and it's a little harder to make friends. But when you're in school, you just automatically have that group. Mm-hmm. So you have, and that, but also I feel like the girls are less crazy. Like maybe equally crazy, mm-hmm. but they're supporting you and they uplift you, which is different than like those bitchy. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, totally. So I was at Horsepower, and that's kind of where I was like getting my feet wet, taking classes, kind of seeing what my potential was. And it started gaining. It was a slow to warm, because I didn't really realize like once the open hit for my first time, I was like, oh, this is so legit. Like I can redo this workout and get better every time. And then I was so like, I don't know. I just thought like the hard weights. And at the time I had met one of my really good friends now, Andrea. She was obviously in her prime. So I remember watching her and being like, that is so cool. Like, she's just like so strong and all of this stuff. And so, you know, year after year, or even workout after workout, I just was like, how do I get better? Um, and so I had hired a coach who owns a different gym. He owned CrossFit Precision in Agora. And so I would make the commute out there. And from where I was living at the time, it was a good like 30 to 35, 40-minute commute, depending on traffic and depending on when I left. But I was like so invested in just getting better. And also the girls that you meet in the gyms, like in the competitive world, it's so nice to have them support you and actually want you to do better, which I think it has to do with age, because at some age, and I think it's actually not really as much age, but more maturity and like where you are as a person in your life. Because I do notice that, you know, at certain gyms, or not certain gyms, at some gyms, you know, there are people that are just like, they don't want you to do good. They like want to be better than you all the time. So when they're watching you work out, they're like wanting you to fail so badly so that they just have the one up. And whenever I coach at places, I'm always trying to like use that as my, like, the support is where you're going to get better, not you wanting someone to fail, because that's just negative energy on yourself that you're just trying to spew out to other people.
Totally.
And so when I started training at Precision, I mean, it was competitive. The girls there were really good. And I was like, I had my strengths and I had my weaknesses, and then so did the other girls. And so I just remember thinking like, man, if I want to make this team, because at the time I was going for the team and there were so many girls there. And so you're just like, dang, who do I have to beat out in order to make the team? And, you know, with that being said, there was a year I didn't make it. There was a year I did make it, and then there was the year after that I didn't make it. And these were all my good girlfriends. So I was so happy for them. I mean, inside I was sad for myself, but I was happy for the girls because they put the work in. Like, what am I supposed to do? I can't get mad at you for being better than me when you're putting work in. And so I think that was like the coolest thing, is that this tight-knit group of girls, and there are obviously some guys, but I get along with the girls. So like, it was just more fun to be like, dang, there's a solid group of strong women who use fitness as their hobby. So, you know, you're not reverting to like partying all the time, even though there were times where I was like, we're going to have fun tonight. But more times out of the week, you're spent like figuring out how you're going to do the workouts, or what you're going to be eating and how you're going to recover, which is such a healthier way to live life, you know? So I definitely appreciate those years prior to like getting married and have a baby, because I felt so connected to my body, and I just was like, I felt good in my skin.
Yeah,
I don't now. I definitely do now, but you know, I just felt like before I settle down, or before I go down the path of like having a baby, like I just was like, this is so cool that I got to experience that. Because I don't know, I don't think I will now, but like, I don't think I will go to regionals again. I don't even know if there's even ever.
You've been I don't even know. I don't think they're still doing it. I think they changed it.
Yeah, I don't either. I'm so out of the loop with CrossFit that.
Same. I didn't realize that they totally changed it. So I'm just seeing now everyone's like, oh, I just did the open. And I'm like, now? Like, you just did the open?
Yeah. No, the open, it went from, we're 5-week open to 3 weeks. And I literally didn't know it was 3 weeks. So this year I was like stoked, like, oh, good, the open's back. Like, you know, these gyms are starting to open back up. Like, we have been open underground, but we have been open. So nothing really changed with us. But it was like, cool, the open brings the best part of the community together. And when I heard it was 3 weeks, I was like,
bummer.
What the heck? Like, once the third week settles in, you're kind of like getting like, you're like, yeah, this is cool. Every Friday we get together, we do a workout, we hang out after. It was so cool. But I'm so out of the loop that my girlfriend texted me and said, you're in the top 10%. You're going to make it on to the next level. You're going to go to regionals. And I was like, okay, I'm not in the top. Like, I'm like, what are you talking about? I was so confused. And then I actually reached out to my coach and was like, can you explain this to me? Because everyone says I'm moving on and I have no idea what they're talking about. And I didn't realize there's like an online qualifier after the open. And I was like, oh, I made it to that? Sweet.
Well, congrats.
Thank you. I know. I was like, that's pretty cool. I mean, it's cool. It's definitely cool. I'm not going to undermine making it. But I was just like, oh man, I've got another like thing to look forward to that I was like, I did not train for this. Like my girlfriends and I are all going to Palm Springs the weekend it comes out. We're taking our kids. It's going to be a mommy and me trip, and it's going to be 5 adults, 8 children, 8 children.
Totally outnumbered.
Totally. And so I'm like, wait, I'm supposed to do regional or qualifiers that weekend? Okay, we'll see how that goes.
That's amazing. When was the last time that because you went to regionals for how many years?
Okay, well, I joined, I forgot I went on horsepower's team. I was an alternate 1 year, so technically you're on the team, but you don't step on the floor to compete, but you still train with the team. So, if you will, I was on the team that year, and then the next year I made it. So I think that was 2014 alternate, 2015 made it to regionals with the team, and that was really fun. That was my first year, but that was like I think the second year our team had made it, so that was really fun for us. That was horsepower. And then the following year I changed over to precision, and because it's so competitive there with the girls and feelings get hurt, which is, if anyone on my team or goes to precision listening to this, you guys all know, but Mike, the owner, he has a rule that you have to like be at precision for I forget the rule actually, but I know there's a rule. You have to be there a certain amount of time in order to make the team, because that's how many good girls are there.
Yeah.
So it's like you can't just show up before the open and be like, okay, I'm on the team, right?
Fair.
He's not
that makes sense.
Yeah, fair. I was a little butthurt the first year because I freaking worked hard and I did really well. But again, I understood the rules and I was stoked for the girls that went. And it is what it is. Like now that I look back, I'm like, if I was butthurt about it, I'm more mature now, so I can realize and see it. I made the team the next year, and that was really fun. That was Precision's best finish. So I'm going to go with, like, I was the best player on that team. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Definitely.
No, that was our best finish, though. So I was pretty stoked to be on that team for that. And that was, I think, when they brought the worm in. I actually can't remember. But the worm was a huge part of regionals. So we got to train with that prior, and that was really fun. I think that was, like, a really fun year for us.
Nice.
The following years when they changed it from 6 people on a team to 4, which sucks because we had brought in another girl to our gym, and they made the stakes of making individual much harder. So some of the girls that normally would make individual maybe didn't, so then it would put them on a spot on the team. So that year I was definitely sad that I didn't make the team, and then the following year after that I got pregnant.
Oh.
Actually, wait a second. No, I was pregnant the year I didn't make it, and that's why I was like, everything happens for a reason.
Totally.
So I went to regionals to watch, and I was like I was a few weeks pregnant, and so technically I could have competed because my body would have been so fresh. I know this would not be smart for any birth fit coach listening to this.
No, but been like, you know your body.
Yeah, in a way, you're so early on. I was so early on in my first trimester that I could have actually not even known I was pregnant at the time. Yeah. Competed and then found out and been like, oh, dang.
Yeah.
So I do remember thinking, like, sitting in the stands, and I was sitting with my now current husband. I was just like, wow, everything happens for a reason because I'm pregnant now. And he was like, you would not compete. And I was like, yes, I would.
Exactly. Yes, you would.
And I was like, yes, I would. And he was like, not over my dead body, not with my baby in your stomach.
And you know what's crazy? I know it's not the same, but when I was with Melody, actually, when I was 5 or 6 months pregnant, we ran a Spartan race and we came in first and second.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Like first and second of everyone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, pregnant, like, I don't know why pregnant women, like, it's not a disability. Like, yes, you need to know your body, yes. But.
Yeah. And I feel like there's so much more knowledge out there and so much more training with, like, birth fit coaches and just programs that, like, I don't understand why people look at it as not a disability. What did you just call it?
No, a handicap. People see it as a handicap.
Yeah. And it's not. Like, you can definitely move. There's points in time where you have to start eliminating movements 100%, and I totally am for that. But yeah, when people come in and they're like, well, I'm trying to have a baby, I'm like, perfect. Start working out now so that you can work out throughout your pregnancy, because I do know that people who don't work out, get pregnant, and then they think like, oh my gosh, I'm about to blow up. I'm going to be so huge. I'm going to be fat. I'm going to start working out when I'm pregnant. That is obviously where you want some trained professional to be like, yeah, you need to do something very minimal. But yeah, I remember thinking when I was sitting in regionals, like, wow, I cannot believe that I'm pregnant. Like, my life has changed. And I thought I was going to be on this CrossFit floor. It's crazy how fast.
But now you're going to go back, maybe.
Yeah, we'll see. I would hope. I really don't know the financial side of the CrossFit world, because obviously that's the reason why I think they took out a whole bunch of the regionals.
Mm-hmm.
Like our region, California, and the East Coast region did well.
Yeah.
You have your
competitive
top athletes. So those regions, I think, monetarily did well. It's the regions that, like, no offense, but like your Oregon, your I forget what they were called, because there were so many at the time, but like your Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Montana, those regions are very like few people. So the stands, like people coming to spectate, it was low. I remember when Andrea moved regions, she was in a few regions. When she was in the like South region, I remember I went, it was in Utah. We made a girls trip out of it. And I mean, the stands were practically empty on Friday. Yeah.
That's
so
crazy.
I just looking around being like, I can see why they had to eliminate some of these regions, because they weren't probably making any money.
Yeah.
So the overhead was way too much. So I understand it. It sucks though, because like, I don't know. I just feel like you have some people that work hard in the gym that are never going to go to the games, but those people that get close to going to regionals, that's what makes it so much fun for the community to watch that one person in the open, or that few people in the open, to be like, they're going to make it to the next step. And like, that's like the games for some people, like going to regionals is going to be games level. And then obviously those that go to the games, you're like, wow, you are amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm thankful that I was able to experience the regionals at the time that I was like able to, with being able to go to school and still work and still put in the hours in training, still have some freedom in my life to be able to train and just have fun and travel and do all that stuff. And then fast forward to having a baby, it did slow down a lot, but it's not as bad as what people kind of say. Like the stigma of having a baby, like, oh, you're never going to sleep. My child sleeps like a teenager. So it's not it's a give and take. Like, I don't know. I feel like sometimes it's like, you're never going to get your body back. You're never going to be this, and you're never say goodbye to your free time. Those kinds of things is not what I think people should be expecting to hear from other people. And yes, there are people that have to deal with a sleepless child or a fussy baby, and I'm sorry for that. Yeah. But it's not every baby,
Yeah. I think that it's really hard transitioning from couple life or single life or whatever you are before a baby to hearing all these crazy stories, because I also had a similar story with my little one. She's amazing. She's super, knock on wood, super easy. She's a great, like, I'm so lucky to have her. And I think that going in with the pre-notion of, oh, say bye-bye to your sleep and all that, and I'm like, and you're never going to get your body back. And I'm like, well, I think a lot of it's perspective. Like, and even more than that, and I think going back to your point of, working out and doing things before pregnancy, it's so important to make your body as strong as possible. Obviously, you're not looking to PR your lifts or, while you're pregnant, but it is crucial to create a strong foundation while you're pregnant or pre-pregnancy or during that time, because let me tell you, as soon as you have that baby, that's when it really starts. That's when it's that
was the rough part. Like, as far as like the fourth trimester that I didn't even realize that was like a term or whatever. That actually was
the hardest,
roughest part for me. And it wasn't even like the baby-ish part. It was, I had an emergency C-section. So my body, like, I figured like, okay, I train my body to be strong and fast and fit and to not really look a certain way. I think that's just a product of just how I train in the gym. But I remember when I was doing the C-section, or I was trying, like, I can vaguely remember, because it was so traumatic for me. I'm such a baby when it comes to like the hospital stuff. Like, oh man, just thinking about it right now, I'm like, I can't go back to the hospital. That sounds terrible. But they said that because my muscle, I was such a small frame, such a small body, so tight in my muscles, that pushing the baby out and even getting her out would be a challenge because my body is so small, so
and
lean.
just
And I was like,
tight.
dang, you know, you work hard for the body. You think that it's going to be like not easy by any means, but you think it's going to be a lot easier, and in return, it's actually harder. So when they, you know, cut me open, I actually had trouble walking for about 2-ish weeks after the C-section. Like, oh man, just getting up out of the couch. If I wasn't shoveled up and like over and helped up like this, it would take me a solid like minute and a half to get up. And then, you know, walking to the bathroom down the hall, it took me like a minute or so. Like I had to go really slow with that. So that was actually what made me the most like, I don't know, I wouldn't say depressed. I think the baby blues, I definitely experienced a hint of it because I was just like, my hormones were crazy. My breastfeeding was really hard. It's not something that's talked about, is how hard breastfeeding is for women. Like, I just assumed like I was just going to be pumping milk and it was going to be like a good bond between me and Skylar. And oh man, I was stressed almost every single time. Sometimes my boobs would feel rock hard, like milk was there, and I would actually love that feeling because then I knew I had milk.
Right.
Whereas other women would be like, I hate it because then it was just too much milk, and I didn't have that problem. So that was really hard on me. Once we switched to just formula, oh man, I was like, this is amazing. And I actually, someone had messaged me saying, look, they make formula for a reason. Formula is made for a reason, and we are able to have our hands on it. Don't feel bad about putting your kid on formula. And I just remember that resonated with me because I was like, you know what? You're right. Formula is there. Use it. And then get off breastfeeding. You know, you tried. It's not like you didn't try. And you know what? For people who don't want to do it, it's not even about that. Like, whatever.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Like, it's your body. You choose what you want to do with it. You make the decision for what's best for you, your mental health, and your child. But, yeah, once I got off breastfeeding, which was around 8 weeks, I was like,
new game changer.
Yeah, this is amazing.
You know, you make such a good point because I think that being a female, you're always judged. You're always, you know, you're in fitness, in being in athletics, whatever. But in the mom world, it's a whole new level of, well, did you breastfeed? You had a C-section? Did you have a natural? Did you get medicine? Did you do this? And it's like, I carried the thing for months and I'm going to raise it for the rest of its life. What else do you like? And it is a whole new level of just judgment. And I don't get it.
Totally. I don't either. And then, yeah, no, I don't understand it. Or like now that I'm in the like more scolding phase, because Skylar is well aware of her actions, which is annoying because she's so sassy. And I just like, sometimes I want to laugh because I'm like, did you really just do that? And then I'm like, wait, I need to film this. Some other people need to see this shenanigans. But like, yeah, when I'm in the grocery store or I'm like, I don't care. And you know what is funny is when I see people now reprimand their kids, I just like give them a nod. Like I get it. I totally get it. When I see kids dress the way that they want to dress, which is always so cute and fun, I'm like, you did not win that battle today, Mom. But it's okay because you cannot win every battle and you have to pick and choose. And so sometimes when Skylar wants to wear certain things, it's always Mickey Mouse or Minnie Mouse. I'm like, I don't care because this is a battle I will choose to lose. You do you, Skylar. But yeah, I do find it interesting. I noticed that my friends, like I've got my solid group of friends that single, don't are not married, don't have kids. Like I've got my like few left. Most of them are now like, you know, in the process of getting married, having a baby. But I did notice that most of my friends, like my friend groups, were all moms. So it is so nice to, one, have group get-togethers and let the kids just like do their own thing. Most of them are at the age where they're unsupervised. Like we can trust that they'll be in the playroom, not trying to put their fingers in a socket or eat random little toys. Like they're past that age. But it's so nice to like have a group of friends that have like-minded parenting styles that aren't judging each other on like how you reprimand your kid or not. And we can all just hang out, and it's really, really nice and so beneficial to have your mom friends.
Well, it's a piece of sanity. Like I was just talking with a girlfriend about this who she doesn't have kids. She's not in a relationship. And I was saying, it's really difficult because my little one's 11 months old. So it's like the much newer end of the spectrum of finding myself okay, so I know how to be wife. I know how to be, a few things, but how can you hold on to your independence while being mom and dog mom and, wife, all these things, especially now because I'm in New York City and pretty much everyone's left. So it's like, I have like maybe one girlfriend here, and she's not ever even here. Hard. So it's a really interesting thing to find like a group that can support you and really just encourage you to be whatever it is you're trying to be. Your
totally
steer.
And I don't know if this is like so coincidence or I don't know, God sent or something, but my group of girlfriends were all LEO wives, all of us. And then my other really good friend out here, her husband's a lineman, and so his hours at one point in his life were never home. He was never home.
Yeah.
So she lived the like single wife life as well. So we're able to connect on another type of emotional level that comes with, first, if you're not able to get a babysitter, we can just be like, hey, do you guys want to hang out? Yeah. Well, my kid's coming. No problem. So is mine. You want to go grab dinner? Our husbands are working. Yep. Don't have a babysitter? Bring your kids. It's just like common knowledge that the kid comes with, because at a certain age, which I don't even know the age you can actually leave your kid home alone, like 12, 10, 9, I don't even know.
Yeah.
But none of our kids are at that age where we could just be like, yeah, they're fine at home alone. Like they're going to be fine.
Yeah.
So they come with us. But the emotional, I guess, relief that we can get by talking about what's going on in the police world is so nice, because especially this year, 2020, I think will go down as the worst year all around the board for everyone's beliefs, politically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally. Everyone can say 2020 did something either bad to them, and then hopefully someone can come out and be like, you know what, the positive in this year was this. But I think no matter what, there was a lot of negative in 2020.
It was just such a chaotic, it was just so much chaos and so much division, which really makes it, feel very unhopeful. You just feel a little hopeless, which is tough, right? Because you're a real person, and you are married to a law enforcement officer, and all of your friends just so happen to be, which obviously is a godsend, because you need to have some sort of relations and some way to get that out.
Yeah.
How do you handle it?
A lot of wine. No, I'm just kidding.
Fitness.
Yeah, fitness does help. No, I think continually talking about it, and just, that's a really loaded question, because I'm trying to think how we handled it. And a lot of us would either get together. I'm talking, we saw each other over the quarantine. And yes, in the beginning of it, when COVID was so new, and we were just kind of stunned on what is this thing? I definitely did not see some of my girlfriends for a few weeks, but after we kind of were just it's getting hot, we can be outside. So then we would just meet outside, and then we would just hang out on their porch, and we would just have long nights of just hanging on the porch. The kids would play out front. Some normalcy would be there. My girlfriend lives on a street with all kids, so we just were like, you know what? We put the little stoppy guys so that people had to drive through really slow. The kids were all out playing, having fun. All of us moms were just, anxiously talking about how crappy the riots ended up, being, and just how stuff is just really affecting us, and having the negative look on cops. But then people would be like, cops are bad, they're murderers, they go out and try to kill people, they try to do this, da-da-da. But not your husband. No, not your husband. Your husband's a good cop. He's one of the good guys. And I would get those messages so often that I'm like, negative. You're making a blanket statement. My husband is a part of that statement, so stop trying to come to me and being like, no, we know your husband's not one of the bad ones, because it doesn't matter at that point. Like, one bad move from any person, let's just say any person, this is what I am so irritated about, is that we're so quick to pinpointing like the corruption in, okay, let's go with the police world. Yes, there's corruption there. There always will be. I loved watching all the documentaries, especially on Netflix, on some of the police corruption that you saw back in the day. There was this one in New York or Boston. Dude, insane, and should be caught. Corruption should not be there. But there's corruption in the politician world. There's corruption in the doctor world. There's corruption in
everything.
I mean,
everything.
There's corruption in everything. But we're so honing in on one person's actions speaking for everyone else. And now I have to worry about my husband when he goes to work getting shot point blank because you don't like cops in general. Like, how is that fair? And I hope people listening to this would be like, it's not fair, because I know my husband's intentions to when he goes to work. It's to do his job. It's like, it's to get bad people off the streets. Now, he works in a city that is like 2 or 3 square miles, very small, super small, and very much gang infested, Hispanic neighborhood, gang infested, a lot of guns, like a lot of guns, a lot of drug, you know, it's just like the normal, but very small. So he sees crime 24/7. It's not like we live in a nice little city out here. It's a big, actually Santa Clarita is a big city. It's like one of the largest, I think, cities in Los Angeles, because in Santa Clarita you got like a few different sub-cities, if you will.
Yeah.
And our neighborhood's really nice. It's a nice, there is crime obviously, but you're not like on every street you're seeing like someone look like tatted everywhere, you know, just like the scare, I don't know, that's profiling, but I don't know, if you've got scary tattoos on your face, and you've got things written on your neck that look like gang tattoos, I'm definitely going to assume something is not right. And that doesn't matter what race you are to me. Like, I think that's where people are like, cops are so racist and they are this. I'm sorry, but if you look a certain way, you present yourself a certain way, you speak a certain way, and it doesn't have to be like slang by any means, but if you're like cussing and I don't know, there's just a way. I feel like
it's very simple.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. Like, what can you expect people to do? It doesn't have anything to do with race, and this is my opinion. So it baffles me that it's like cops are the enemy in some cases. Again, there is corruption and there are crazy power-driven cops. There's crazy power-driven everything.
Everything,
You know, like certain, So yes, it is challenging. I do get anxious at night. He works night shift, so that's his favorite because that's when all the bad people come out. It's when, you know, a lot of people do their drugs at night. Whoever knows, you know. But yeah, it is quite anxious, I will say. Sometimes I can't fall asleep, and sometimes I'm like tossing and turning, and others I'm like, just can you text me every few hours to just even if I'm sleeping, so if I wake up I see like, hey, I'm good or whatever. But yeah,
I think that it's such a there's this notion, right, where there's this huge movement that was happening with defund the police. And I was speaking with a friend about it, who basically the way that he explained it, because he's a cop here in New York, and he said, listen, if there was an underperforming school for kids, they're not going to take money away. They're going to try to give them more money to better educate, better prepare, better inform, better teach, better train, right? Like, so the kids can then do better in life. And it's the same, and I think that normal people who don't have a connection to cops, or, you know, LEOs, whatever you want to call them, they don't, and they probably haven't been explained this way, and I think that it's very helpful, which is, so when they defund, they're, you know, it's not like they're taking away, oh, they're going to get a less salary because they're getting paid so good. No, they're not getting paid so good, and they're not getting so many amazing, like, it's not like they're driving, you know, Cadillacs around and they're Like, no, they're
Right.
very normal people. And if anything, they're underpaid and and I think that when it's explained like the same way you would a school with kids, you would give them more money so then they could be better. It's the same exact thing. Because,
Totally.
and I don't know if, I'm assuming it's kind of a blanket thing, but here, what I learned, because with all this stuff happening, of course, I'm digging into it and I'm very curious because I know a lot of cops, like being in the CrossFit world, not a lot, but there were a handful that would
Mm-hmm.
come and train with us. And like,
Totally.
we love them. Like a lot of the girls that I used to train with, all their husbands or their boyfriends, or like they would come and train with us. And basically, there's no, and I think this is super important for people to know, there's no, like requirement once they pass that initial exam, they don't have any other requirements they have to pass, right? Like, and it might be different in California, so correct me, or I don't know if you know, which is they don't have to log X amount of hours at the range. Like, they don't have to go practice shooting. Like, that's crazy. They don't have to take driving courses because if you happen to be in a chase, they don't have to learn how to drive properly. And in New York, most people that grow up here never even have their license.
Right.
And the other thing is, it's crazy, is that they don't have to take any sort of self-defense classes. So it's like, you mean it, which is why they just whip out their gun and then they shoot and they don't, it's not like they know, like it's all just a cyclical effect.
Yeah.
And people don't understand that it's like, it's not, there's lack of support.
Lack of support, lack of training. I think that people think that when they say defund the police, I don't even know what people think they're defunding, because in my head, I think they're thinking like, oh, defund them meaning less people on patrol, which is not the case. What got defunded was the special units, your sex crimes, maybe even like gang units. It really depends on, like, I guess the city or the department, county, or whatever it is, because at least in Santa Clarita, where I live, I live with, we have sheriffs, and so I know that like a sex crime unit was what was defunded. Okay, well,
how is that helping?
What about the children? What about the children? Because a lot of the little like sex crimes is so big with kids, and in my head, I'm just like, this is gonna hurt so many. This is gonna hurt and hinder so many children. And I guess that's where my mind goes. Now that I have a kid, I mean, my whole world, my whole viewpoint, anyone who knows me, like, not like, oh, I went to school with her. Okay, you don't know me. I was 21 years old, didn't really know anything about myself. So what's funny to me is when I post things on social media, which I do post, like, I am vocal and I am out, if you want to say I'm loud about it, which I'm fine with someone being like, I don't like that about her, whatever. But
don't follow you.
It's okay. And they'll message me and talk shit to me. And I'm like, hold on. We went to school in high school, which is already like 10 years ago. You don't actually know me. Like, we talked in high school in our classes. Okay. Like,
you're like, and you remember that? Maybe that's the bigger problem.
Yeah. We talked about like my viewpoints, and you know me as a person, and I could change in 10 years. So can you. Anyways, they come at me like, this is like not even you. And I'm like, time out. It's been a while. Like, it's been a minute.
Things change.
But things change. Yeah. But yes, I am very vocal on my social media. And I just recently, someone had posted, like, they screenshotted something I posted, and then it got blasted everywhere that I am a white supremacist and I'm racist, and which I'm like, okay, yeah, that definitely is me for sure. I'm like, I never post anything about that. I am just very vocal in how I feel, and I don't go to race when I see things. Like,
yeah, but
personally I just don't do that. Like,
a lot. Yeah, but what you're saying is what people are there when they have nothing else to say. They have no other ammo to use. Well, you're racist. You're phobic. You're this. And it's like,
right.
No, I think that everyone has equal rights. We're all humans, whatever you are.
But yeah.
But I'm allowed to have my opinion, and you're allowed to have your. But that's also, I mean, something that has been very evident in this whole year, which is the sad division. People are allowed to talk and say whatever they want.
Right.
But other people can say nothing.
Right.
And it's like,
so we were definitely, this year, 2020 was the Civil War. You're either on one side or you're on the other side. You are not allowed to be in the middle.
which is horrible.
Terrible, because most people live in the middle. In what I think, we all live right in the middle. You know, we're going to be maybe a little more towards the right, maybe a little more towards the left, but most people center right around the middle, because I can say I'm conservative in that I would think, after listening and like kind of doing my own research, I'm definitely more conservative, more Republican. However, your body, your choice. You do whatever you want to do with your body, and that's your. I mean, I think that's very simple. Like, it is what it is. Like, if you're not hurting me and you're not hurting my daughter and my husband, even though I'm not going to be able to save his life. Maybe, well, not like, ooh, I got his back, but like, if you're not hurting anyone, like, then do whatever you want to do. Like, I don't understand why that has to be in play. So, like, I mean, I don't know. I just think so much with, I have a kid now, so I want to make sure that I'm raising her right. And I think it's funny when people who actually don't know me or know my family or know people who, like, who don't know me, because if you know me, then you'll end up knowing my family, and I'm pretty close with my family, and I'm pretty close about talking about my family. My family is made up of so many different races. It's crazy. My stepdad is Filipino, and I have a half sister. She's half white, half Filipino. So there's that. And he's been in our life forever. So I've kind of touched on like the full Asian Filipino culture. And then my stepmom's Cuban. So most family traditions, like Thanksgiving, we don't do a traditional Thanksgiving. Like, we do a Cuban style one, or we just don't do anything white or whatever, if you will. She's Cuban. So then we've got the Cuban family. My father-in-law and husband, they're Middle Eastern. Like, I didn't even actually know this until like I started asking, like, what nationality are you? He's like, oh, Middle Eastern. I'm like, oh, dang, didn't know that. And my brother-in-law is Black. So, and my brother-in-law and my sister-in-law, they have a daughter who is the same age as Skylar. So what I found quite interesting during, like, now fast forward to California is trying to change the curriculum and all that stuff. And I'm just not for it. Like, I'm not for my niece and my daughter to be same age, same class, essentially, same school, literally could be sitting right next to each other, and having them learn that my niece, who is half Black, is going to be looked at differently because of her skin color, or she's actually oppressed, so we need to be doing things to make her not oppressed, while my daughter, who's right next to her, has a father, actually both of them both dads are cops, so, and he's Black. So it's like, now we're going to teach that police brutality to my kids, and my poor kids' friends are going to grow up maybe learning that their friend's daddy goes to work to beat people up.
So this is the question.
That's very like, that's right. Holy crap, that's harsh for you to say that, because no teacher is going to word it like that. But I don't know these. Totally. These teachers could have their own viewpoint and actually run with it and be like, it is. Yeah, they're absolutely right. Police people go out and beat people up, and then my kid's going to come home and no one's going to want to be my kid's friend, because it's so far from the truth.
Well, what you're saying is, so I was just listening to something, and that's where academia or school or education is so wrong. And it's like, well, how do we as the users, the consumers, put it back on track, right? Because the education, college, that little, whatever it is, they're supposed to teach them how to learn, not what to learn.
What to learn,
Like,
exactly.
and it's in New York, I don't remember if we talked about this before, but so they sent out letters here to kids in Soho and a few areas in the city, basically saying that kids are no longer allowed to use mom and dad, and they're only allowed to refer to their parents as either parents or folks. They're not allowed to use mom and dad. And it's like, what? That's completely illegal. We have an amendment called freedom of speech. Like, you can't, right. And they sent this out to the schools and the kids and the parents, and kids are little, like probably your kid, like kindergarten, 4 or 5, like little kids.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And it, like, also having a kid now, it really makes me think, well, what am I doing? Like, how do we as parents stand up? And the issue or whatever the question is, that, like, for me to you is, well, how do parents band together? And how can we say, no, I'm not okay with you teaching my kid these things. That's not your job. It's not your role. And just because I'm standing up to you doesn't mean I'm a white I'm Jewish. And my husband's from Israel.
Right.
And my grandpa's from Congo. Like, I am not racist.
Right.
I am also Native American.
I
So I have many things that have been slaughtered. Like, my whole heritage have just been slaughtered. So I'm the last person that is going to be a white supremacist.
But the thing is because your skin color is so white.
Correct.
You are white.
Correct.
You could be like also my uncle, so my mom's brother-in-law, Mexican. So I have that in my family too. And it's like, so I laugh when people are like, you're so racist. I'm like, yeah, okay. I'm not even going to go down that rabbit hole with you because you don't know me enough. If you're going to come at me in my DMs and be like harsh at what I post, instead of being like, hey, I don't agree with you, but this is my standpoint. I'm down to have those kinds of conversations. But when they start coming at me like name calling or telling me you're this, I'm like, okay.
You're like, you don't even know me, bro. Get off.
Yeah. And some people who do know me will come at me and call me like ignorant. And I'm like, okay, well, if I'm ignorant to you, then I think that you're ignorant to me. But it's like not even a waste of time.
But it's like, how can we have, like, how can people, as parents, right?
Yeah.
But I think that this is a thing. So we are civilized, open-minded. We could talk about this.
Right.
But as soon as we raise questions, we're said, well, you're racist. So it's like, what's the next step?
I know. I don't, honestly, again, another loaded question. I don't know. Because I feel like at this point in my life, one, I don't really have the time for the drama. So when people do DM me now that I just don't, like, I'm like, it's not even worth it. I don't answer. But I feel like sticking to the bubble of people that do get me and do love me for who I am, regardless if we believe in the same things, is where I would drive my energy to. Now, as far as schooling goes, I mean, it's not out of the question that we're talking about moving to another state, which is so scary. And I'm like, I get anxious thinking about it because I've only known California. My family is here. I have a solid group of girlfriends that are here. And I'm not saying that if you leave, you're going to lose them. No. However, every other night or every other day or every weekend, we're all together because normally it's our husbands are working. So we're just like, nothing else to do. We're all hanging out. We all got batshit crazy kids that need to get energy out. And so we all just get together. But like thinking about leaving the state, I guess the only thing that drives it home for me is that it will give Skylar a way better life than possibly what she would have here. Mm-hmm. And that's so sad to think about because we live in the United States. Like we live in such a privileged country. And I'm thinking about moving to another state because I think the situation here is not good.
Yeah.
And also California taxes are rather insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not out of the question. But going forward, my viewpoint or like my opinion, because my girlfriend's kids are all in school, so they have had those issues where I think it was Scholastic. Scholastic had the teachers talk about police brutality and BLM, and my girlfriend was like, "Wow, my husband, like my kids." Could potentially have to deal with their friends saying like, "Oh, your daddy is a cop. He beats people up," and so she had addressed it to the teacher or even went to the principal. I feel like, and that's where I would be like banding together and writing those letters to the school or just setting meetings up with the teacher and just being on it and being on what your kid is learning because yes, they should be learning. They should be finding tools on how to learn stuff, not tools on what to learn. These teachers should not be giving the kids their opinion on political matters, on sex orientation. I don't believe that. I think that's on the parents to do that, and that's for the parents to select when they're going to teach their kids certain things, how they're going to teach their kids certain things, because I don't know. It's getting wild.
It is. It's really scary.
Especially having a little girl, I am definitely on edge with her, how she's growing up with sports. Because if I played sports growing up, my husband played sports growing up, I'm going to assume that Skylar's going to just want to play sports. And if she doesn't, then she doesn't. But I'm just assuming, like, we're going to have a little sporty sport, which I'm so stoked on. And finding, like, again, for anyone listening, these are completely my viewpoints and opinions. So if it's something that you don't resonate with, I totally get it. But I am at a point where if Skylar's playing, let's go hands-on. I played softball. She's going to play softball. Let's say she's a catcher. I was a catcher. I weighed 100 pounds, and I tried to catch in high school. Obviously, that didn't last very long because I was so small. So they threw me out in center field. But let's say she wanted to be a catcher, and she's playing high school sports, and there was a biological boy that wanted to be a female, plays softball. And this person is a big person. Just genetically speaking, having that person slide into home plate would petrify me.
Yeah.
And I know, like, it's not a matter of, like, oh, you're not for transgenderism. I'm not even sure what the right term is for that, because again, in the end, you do whatever you want to your body. It is your body. It is your choice. You should be able to make those decisions. You should think about it. It's almost like getting a tattoo. Like, you want to get a tattoo at the age of, like, 15, 16, and your mom is like, nope, you need to wait 2 years. You need to think about it, because that's permanent. That's permanent to your body.
Yeah.
Now, that's a different story when you turn 18 and then start getting these dumb tattoos and then might regret them. I mean, I don't regret my tattoos, but I do think, like, wow, 18-year-old Danielle, that was her choice back there. So no regrets. But I do think that there should be a thought process behind it, because, you know, shit happens. We change our minds, or we go through a period in our life called puberty where your hormones in your brain is haywire, and you need time to cool, calm, collect those thoughts. And so, pertaining to transgenderism, if that's what you want to do, then that's fine. But there's got to be some type of thought process behind it, which I have a solution. But there's got to be a thought process behind the fact that if you were born biologically a male, you are naturally going to be stronger, I believe. And I see it in the gym all the time. When I'm teaching, it's always the stupid ring muscle up. I'm like, just try this. And they're like, oh, this? Boop. And I'm like, it took me like a year and a half to do a muscle up. And then these guys are just like, you know, they get it. And that's where I just see a lot of, like, the physical strengths. Not always, but majority of time. My solution, and this actually is going to go hand in hand with steroid use. Not transgenders should use steroids, but those that want to use steroids, do it. Those that want to be the opposite sex, do it. We should be creating these, not categories, but you know, not divisions, but like, you have your let's say it's CrossFit games. Let's just use the games as, like, CrossFit. So we've got our divisions. We've got our male division. We got our female division. Okay, let's make a steroid division. If you want to do steroids so bad, let's see people do roids and then work out, because that would actually be quite fun to watch. But at least, like, you're just owning up to that. Like, I'm going to enter into that division. I want to do steroids. I want to do the damage to my body.
I wonder why that's not a thing. But that is a very easy solution.
Yeah, because in the weightlifting world, or in the Olympic lifting world, you get people popped all the time. Okay, well, create a freaking division that has the steroid use, and then let them go crazy.
I was just listening to a talk with Matt Frazier that he did a podcast on. And he was saying that when he was doing all his Olympic weightlifting, he said that the Americans were the only ones who didn't have needles on their, like, every other country is doing it. Okay, fine. So do it and make a special division for it.
Exactly. So my solution would be, and it wouldn't, like, so I had brought this up in my girls' friend, or my group, or I was talking about it to someone, and I was like, I feel like that's a simple solution to include everyone. Yeah. And it's not segregation, like, oh, you're trans, ew, go over there in that corner. But it's just a matter of looking at it biologically, and I think logically. Yeah. You were born a male and you want to be female, fine. But, well, you know, you're not going to be the only one. There's probably a million transgender people out there. Yeah. So it's not, in my opinion, like, oh, we're segregating you. You're not allowed. Like, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of support. Like, just level the playing field. That's all that they're saying. Yeah, that's all that it is, really. And that's where my solution would be. So when I have those conversations, when people are trying to come at me like, you're just ignorant, you're this, you're that, I'm like, not really. You're standing up for women because someone needs to, and no one is, because women are the only ones who are getting, like, a serious shit end of the stick. Yeah, like also like why can't we have women professional sports aside from basketball? I did see a post. It was a side by side. I don't know the girl, and I want to say it was LeBron James. Their titles and how many like championships they won. I'm pretty sure it was the same. It was like let's go with a number of 11. How many years that they made it to X? Pretty much the same. What their salary was. His was like yeah, I can't even remember, but I remember being like, oh my gosh, his was like millions, and
It's
hers
sad.
was like a couple 100,000, which is freaking amazing to make $250,000 a year.
Yeah.
However, it is not the same.
Yeah.
And
she has to give up more, like having kids or not having kids or having kids and having to get her body back and the time off and like it's a whole different thing.
It is, and like I think, like I'm not like feminist, like don't need no man kind of thing, because
we have roles. Men and women are different.
Yeah.
But I do believe in women being strong. Like there's a feminism, like yes, but there's a me feminism, and I don't
like. Yeah. I don't need no man. It's like you kind of do if you want to have a baby. Well, you actually don't. There are doctors out there, so I guess I can retract that. But yes, I like. No, I feel like we are not equal. So, like, again, I'm going to relate this to CrossFit. Whenever there's workouts and it's like 500-meter row for guys and 400 for men, the men are always like, oh, why do you guys get to do 400? I'm like, because we're not equal. You guys your power output is much stronger, or could be much stronger than a female. Yes, you're going to have your females that are going to be better than the men in the gym, because maybe, like, okay, for example,
certain things
always picks on me. They always pick on me. You're the best female here. And I'm like, well, I've been training for 9 years. Like, I've been competitively training for a good 5 or 6 years, right? And that some of it does stick with me. I obviously don't train as much as I used to, but I still am able to go to this mental place of too competitive sometimes, where I can like push through. So yes, some of my scores I do end up beating a lot of the guys. However, a lot of the times I'm like, you're stronger than me. Like, use your freaking mass moves mass. Use it, you know? But yes, I do get not picked on, but like they're always like, Danielle's gonna beat us. Da-da-da. She only gets to row 400. So then sometimes I'm like, fuck it, I'll row 500 then, and I'll still beat you because it's a different level. Also, I'm really competitive, so I'm like, I'll do it too, you know. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like I wish some of the people that hate on me so much would listen to this, so that maybe they would be like, oh, she's not what I thought, because I don't mind having conversations with people, and I don't mind people being like, I don't agree with you. That's fine. I don't really. I've really learned to have thick skin and tough skin, being with one, a police officer, and two, someone who has a dry sense of stubborn, like what's it called?
Where's he from?
Like very sarcastic. He's from out here, Santa Clarita.
No, you said Middle Eastern, that part.
Oh, shit. I hope they don't listen to this. I want to say Iraqi.
Okay.
Now I'm going to be ignorant, because I'm like, I don't really know. Middle Eastern, I want to say Iraqi.
Maybe, whatever, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. I feel I've learned to have thick skin. I'm still very sensitive, and he'll, like, if my husband ever were to listen to this, he'd be like,
mine too,
sensitive little baby. But I've tried to learn to just like thicken up on instant contact with reading stuff, like not go so into like, oh, what the heck, like why are they so mean to me or whatever. So I've just learned to kind of like, you know, whatever about it. But I don't know. I also feel like I just feel like sometimes I'm like, you know what, your life is not hard. You have a good life. You know, you need to keep thinking about the good things you have in life when stuff like this, like people come at me, or if I just have a bad day, or if I'm anxious, I just keep thinking like, you have a good life. You have a roof over your head. You've got a healthy kid. You have a working husband. I'm working. Like, we work our asses off. We enjoy the things that we enjoy. We work hard for our shit. Literally, we've gotten like a new boat. We just bought a new house. Like we're doing so well. So anytime I'm having these like doubts on any aspect, or like anytime I'm like, I don't know, stuff is rough, I always am trying to be like, you have a good life, and there's people out there struggling, and obviously I would love to help everyone. And so my thought is like, well, if I can help someone in the gym like
Yeah.
physically or even emotionally, mentally feel better about themselves, that's where I do my part. So I do laugh sometimes when people tell me that, like, all I do is care about myself, or the white supremacist. I'm like, okay, well, if you saw the clientele that I train, if I was a white supremacist, I would only train one type of person. And that's obviously false.
Well, it's so difficult. I mean, and we kind of talked about this, where when people come at you and you say, well, I wish that they could hear me and see that it's not just this one-sided thing. But the problem is it is one-sided for them, right? Like, you can be open-minded and you can have a conversation. You could say, okay, we don't agree. I believe this, you believe that. Call it a day. But they don't, it's their side or no side.
Or no side. And I find it funny because the people that do name call me and do name call me,
shame you, whatever,
are going to be on the other side of what I believe. So if you're picking up what I'm throwing down, yet I have never name called or even seen a story that I didn't like or didn't agree with on social media and actually message them about it and be like, wow, you're so ignorant. Wow, you're a racist. Wow, you did it. Like, if I just don't see something I don't like, I just roll right past it. Next. Or, you know what, there are people that, and people have done this to me because I know that what I post is definitely on one side. So if you are going to reach out and try to have a conversation with me, you might get that I actually will tinker to your thoughts. And I might be like, you know what, I do agree with you on that, but not on this. People unfollow me, which I don't care. You don't have to follow me. I'm not forcing you to like me. I realize now, like, I'm not for everyone. And I think I've gotten like that because of having Skylar. I'm going to raise my kid the way I want to raise him, and there's going to be people opposing it, and I'm just like, well, not about it.
Yeah, I think that hitting that mom world is a whole new world, and it really solidifies who you are.
Yeah.
And if you before had this, I think that there's probably two ways to see this, but the one thing that I said to someone recently was, if you had any, like, self-conscious or self-doubt or anything before having a kid, it's going to be a real problem. Like, you need to know who you are and you need to be solid in that person, because you're creating and developing a human. Like, you need to be strong in what you believe in. And I think that this year has really pushed, people to whatever side. And for those that are kind of in the middle, I think that it makes it really hard, because it's like, same, I see this side, I see that side, but why it's like I'm not allowed to just be in the middle. It's like you have to pick a side, and it's like, well, I don't want to. Like, I just... So it's very interesting.
We looked it up the other night, like a few weeks ago, like what a civil war is. It's one side or the other. Nothing is in the middle. You choose. And that's what's so sad, because it's not healthy, because then you're just like, you either like the person or you hate them, which is not right.
Yeah.
But the solution to that is sticking to the people that are like-minded, so that it's not really so much like-minded, although that does help. That's more of a benefit. But people that know you for you and love you for you, because you can't agree with everyone. You can't, it's not realistic.
Yeah, it's not.
So,
well, different topic. Different topic. How do you... So before, to give perspective, I'm going to go back to fitness. Your lifts and your weights and stuff pre-pregnancy, while holding, because you're strong. Also, a badass mom. Something I love using, BAM. Danielle's a BAM.
I like that.
So then you transition, but being super, super strong, still holding on to your femininity, being pregnant, and then postpartum, and being able to be feminine through that whole thing. Or not. Because a lot of people have their same thoughts and opinions on chicks who are muscly and strong.
Right. Yeah. So my, like, competitive days, I I would try to actually gain weight and be a little bit bigger, not like walking around like this kind of thing, but like just didn't really worry so much about aesthetics, because I was competing against girls that weighed easily 20 to 40 pounds more than me. So when you put more mass on your body, you're able to lift more. You might be a little slower in the cardio, but you can train that. So it's like, one of my girlfriends that I've known forever, she's a top tier athlete. She's a tall, lean, freaking girl, and she's so strong. She weighs like 170, 175.
Wow, big girl.
And you wouldn't, when you look at her, I never am like, damn, I did not know that's how much you weighed, but no wonder you're freaking so strong. Like, you're amazing. But I had to compete against you, and now we have to do a 1 max clean and jerk.
Of course she's going to win.
Your 1 max clean and jerk is probably going to be close to my deadlift. Like, jeez. So during those times, I was definitely trying to get bigger, and yeah, people would be like, oh, I don't want to get bulky. Just whatever. Like, that goes out the window for me, because I'm like, okay, that's just what then lift light weights, go lighter on the weights and stuff like that. And then when I got pregnant, yeah, that was a struggle in the beginning, being told what I could and couldn't do. I definitely got past that. I think it was because CrossFit was still, like, regionals was still a thing. Like, you train for the open, you go to regionals. And I thought that I was going to just try to have a quick pregnancy. Like, the 9 months, I was thinking like I was going to train my body in the safest way possible, but then really try to get back to it so my body was ready to go for the open. And luckily during that year, CrossFit just like went to shit. I think that they took the open had moved to the end of the year in October.
Yeah.
They took out regionals, and I was like, oh, thank God I am pregnant at a time like this, because no one's going to want to train to go to the games if they're only going to take the top 10% in the world. Like, that means that, like, no one goes. So I just remember thinking, like, this is another sign from God saying, you need to relax. Like, you need to calm down on your expectations and, like, enjoy this process. So yeah, I was training maybe 2 or 3 times a week. I really kicked back because I was like, when I was tired, my body actually was like, you're sleeping. I was in school full time. I worked full time. I was coaching. I did a lot. I was really on the go a lot. So my body was like, sleep, and I would rather sleep than work out. And then, after the baby, it was a slow to warm. Like, I am an advocate of loving yourself, feeling comfortable in your skin, and always wanting more for yourself. So this other movement that I'm like 50-50 on is the, like, just embrace yourself, love yourself. I feel like that's going to be the excuse for women to remain, I don't want to say fat, because I don't think it's fat. I think it's
with excess weight.
Yes. And possibly just start telling women that they should just love who they are. And I agree with it, but I don't, because I feel like women who have a baby that want to get back to the body that they had, that they worked so hard for, or even women that didn't do
just have weight,
and then had a baby, and they're like, no, I want to get into it. Like, I want to feel like good, blah, blah, blah. So the movement of just embrace yourself. You had a baby, just embrace it. When you had a baby like 2 or 3 years ago, I mean, those are excuses to me now. Like, yes, in the first year, yes, you have to kind of roll with the tides. Like, you have to roll with whatever your baby just is doing, because everyone's kid is so different and your body is different. Postpartum training is hard because mentally, I think you're there. You're like, I want to just get back into doing toes to bar, regular pull-ups, butterfly pull-ups, muscle-ups, everything. Yeah. And your core is like barely going to get back to, I mean, there's people that cores are like this, you're not going to go back to normal. But that is the 4th trimester, which is the roughest part, because mentally you might be there, but physically your body's not there. So giving yourself that grace during that time, 100%. But if you're a year out of having a kid and you're still like embracing my body, but then internally you're actually not, you're just like the people that post about it, like, love who you are, embrace your body, but it's hypocritical because they actually don't feel that way. That's what drives me nuts. I cannot stand it.
I think what you're saying is it is a real movement that's happening, and it's really tough being also in the fitness world and, wanting to help people and know that people they should expect more from themselves. They should push themselves. They should, do things that, release those endorphins and make you sweaty and make you work in a physical capacity. So I was speaking with a woman recently on the podcast, and I asked her, which I think that you'd obviously have a similar take, which is, what do you have to say about these women who are embracing it? And she was like, listen, I think that it's basically like speeding. Like, you might get into a crash, you might not. It's the same with them. They might have health complications. They might have, or you might not. But the reality is when you're pregnant and you're carrying around 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, however many extra pounds, you're wearing that weight vest, essentially. It's heavy. So if you can take it off, why not serve yourself that justice and make it, like, it's just going to make your life easier. You're schlepping around less weight. Like, you'll feel like everything about it's just better. And I think that exactly what you're saying of that, embracing on the outside, feeling like shit on the inside, because social media is portraying this, this illusion. I don't know how to get women on with it, like on board with it.
I don't either.
But I wish that they would be, because they would feel better.
Right. I feel like the only way to do that is to keep promoting people being authentic with what they post, and not what I'm going to post is going to get me a new sponsor or more likes or more views, or I'm going to just keep my popularity going and I'm going to be an influencer. Because I so wish that Instagram just like was gone, because some of these people who, which it's like a give and a take, because there are people who make money off Instagram because of good deeds. And then there's other people that are like trying to sell shit that I'm like, if you just go outside and go on a walk, or eliminate the shit you're eating in your diet and not drinking this tea, or I don't even know, taking the supplement that's going to make you lose weight. I mean, it's just like, I don't know, it's all scam to me. And I'm like, sometimes I wish that like social media would just disappear so people can just like go outside.
Just be.
Get your news from, I don't know. I personally think the news outlets are both sides, right and left. They're just horrible. Like annoying. I can't watch it. I only see clips when it's like on Facebook, which I hate even doing because it's still one-sided. Yeah. So
there needs to be some sort of centered thing. I think that on that same token of these women who are advocating for self-love and embrace your curves or whatever it is, fine. But the other part of it that I don't know if you experience it or not, you might have, you probably did, for women who did have a bounce back, you're shamed for it. Like, so it's a whole nother thing, because I get super weird, like, shaming kind of me messages. I'm like, well, you did it too quick. And I'm like, I've been working out my whole life. If I wanted to get fat, I don't think I could. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, because everyone's body seems different. The bounce back, I did get that a lot too, because actually the first 4 months of postpartum, I still looked like 3 months pregnant. My stomach would not, my uterus was like too expanded still. So it wasn't, I didn't bounce back like that body wise, which, I mean, I hated it actually. I was like, oh, this is so annoying. Like, I tried not to compare myself to other petite girls, because I'd be like, wow, freaking her stomach is already flat. Like, her uterus is not even there. Me 4 months later. So I couldn't really like embrace, like I was trying to embrace it, because I was like, it is what it is. Your body it's a great thing. But there were times where I was like, I am mentally so ready to start working out so that I can just work hard on getting my body back to where it was. But once I started being able, I think once I passed the 6 month or 7 month threshold, I was able to do a lot more movements. My intensity was able to kick up. The weight training was able to kick up. So I was able to like start seeing that change back to what I was back to normal. And people would make comments like, it doesn't even look like you had a baby, which I was fine with hearing that because,
Yeah.
My body is tiny in anyways. And where I was showing was only in my stomach. So, yeah, thank you for that comment. But, like, wow, what did you do to bounce back? The bounce back shit drives me nuts because I'm like, I didn't do anything. Like, it's my body. Like, it's also genetics.
Yeah.
And, yeah, so I just remember thinking, like, I'm not doing anything crazy. Like, I'm not going above and beyond. I'm like a class lead now, that's what I call it. A class athlete. Class lead. I just take class. And I do watch what I eat a little bit here and there, So it's just like, I agree with you. It's what you do prior, during, and post. It's got to be consistent. You can't just jump on the wagon right when you
It's not something you could just wing. Like,
right.
A lot of things you can wing. You could fake all sorts of shit, especially with social media. But that's something that you just can't. You just have to be consistent, do the boring shit, do the monotonous accessory work you don't necessarily want to do. You got to do the things that are not sexy. You got to do those, sit and visualize your pelvic floor, like boring stuff. You have to do it. Period.
100%. Because it's not like you can just snap your fingers and everything goes back to normal.
No.
So yes, I do agree. And that's why when I personal train people, I'm like, I know today's not going to be fun. Like, it's actually going to be really bad. Like, mentally, maybe physically, emotionally, like, you're probably just going to really give up on it, or you're not going to want to do it. But it's these days and those moments that are going to actually make you stronger, because once you finish it, you're going to be like, oh, I didn't think I was going to do it, and I did it.
Yeah. We have so many more things to cover, but we don't have time. So
next episode.
So tell me, or tell viewers where they can find you, what you're offering, because you are training.
Yeah.
What's up?
If you want to follow me and if you can hang with my Instagram stories, my username is Miss_Danielle Lee. And if you're in Santa Clarita, it'd probably be the most convenient. But if you're in Santa Clarita, I do offer personal training. So yeah.
Are you doing virtual stuff or not really?
No, not really.
Okay.
I would rather see you in person. I guess I could make it work if it was, a do or die thing. I could make it work. I did virtual all throughout the quarantine life, which was not that bad. Actually, I didn't mind talking to people like this in fitness, but I would much rather have hands on. That way I can see the movement, tweak it if I need to. But yeah.
Nice.
You can catch me in Santa Clarita. Or if you're in Santa Clarita and you want to drop in to the gym that I coach at, it's CrossFit Coveted. We offer drop-ins, so you can come drop in.
I will add the website for that. Sweet.